Welcome to Rodney Veal's Inspired By, a production of Public Media Connect, the regional partnership of CET in Cincinnati and Think TV in Dayton. Rodney Veal, our host for this podcast, is an independent choreographer, interdisciplinary artist, and all-around fan of all things arts and creativity. And he's excited to share another great conversation with you. Thank you for listening, and if you enjoy the show, please subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
So welcome everyone to the podcast, Rodney Veal's Inspired By. I'm your host, Rodney Veal, and I am super excited today because we're going to have a conversation this afternoon with the iconic Audrey Davis, artist, activist, community spirit person who convenes folks, then gets things done, and champion for all that's good in Dayton, Ohio. So, and beyond, mind you, there's so many things. Welcome, Audrey Davis.
I am so glad to be here. Glad to be here and speak with you always.
I love it. Audrey, this is super exciting. And Audrey is at Ebony Galleries. That's the studio space that she and Bing run, own, operate, do all magical things at. And so we're just having a conversation today. So Audrey, I've known you and I've come to know you, but for our audience, I want to let people know and understand how someone can be so ingrained in a community and a society and a culture and is just all around being super cool. So how did this all begin for you, Audrey?
I think part of it is my entire life has always been dedicated to community. My parents were very involved in community, and so that's all I've ever known is to be involved in whatever you're doing, is to put your feet in and do it. So that's all I've known. My parents did it, and so that's what I do. So that's how I became involved, is because that's what you do as part of the community, is to really be part of it.
And so what I love about that, and I don't know this, and you're not a native Daytonian, are you?
No, I'm not. I was raised in Indianapolis. I was born in Louisville, Kentucky, but I spent close to zero time there. Like, I left when I was in the months. But most of my time was raised in Indianapolis, Indiana, which is culturally much like Dayton. So, culturally they're much the same. Midwestern, with the same kind of mentality and movements, and so that's where I was raised, and all the way through high school, and then went to college in Indiana also. So Indianapolis and Indiana is my base.
Oh, you consider that to be the base, but you've made Dayton your home, which is really great.
I've been here for, really, it just happened to hit me. I've been here almost 50 years.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay. All right.
My husband is from this city, and he absolutely adores this city. So this is his home, and I followed him from Indiana. That's not unusual, but yeah, that's how I ended up in Dayton, was following my mate, who loves Dayton and has always been involved in Dayton. So I just fell right into following him into his love of Dayton.
I love it. I really love it.
Some wonderful people here, exceptional. The arts activities here in Dayton, Ohio is exceptional. Bottom line, just for a city this size, it's amazing. It's amazing. Quality, art, and artist. So I'm glad to be here. So these 47 years, I've been here for 47 years, about 47, 48 years.
Yeah, close to 50. Good. Yeah, they've been good. And well, you and Bing as a couple, and just your presence in our community has been such a catalyst for other artists to kind of realize that you can have roots in the Midwest, but to have influence that goes beyond. And one of the things that's really interesting, I was sorry, because full caveat to those who are listening to the conversation, we are producing a documentary on Bing Davis, Audrey's husband, but also it's not just a Bing story, it's a community story, but it's a Bing and Audrey story. It's a Bing and his family and his daughter and son. And so there's a lot to the story, and you're a huge part of it. I mean, and I find that just really fascinating. It was like, so this this notion, I love what you said, just like that Bing has a deep love for Dayton,
He
and it
does.
shows. It shows,
And he always has. He has had
and it's
great support from the city and certain individuals and groups. He's had great support, and he has a love and appreciation that's truly deserved, because Dayton has really given Bing a sense of who he is and where he's going and how important that he is. So he's indebted to Dayton, and without hesitation, he will tell you that. Dayton is his home, and that's where he feels the most support, and that's where he wants to be.
I love it. And well, and also too, it's like, there's a lot of love that comes your way as well. I mean, when I mentioned that I was interviewing you, Audrey, for the podcast, people were like, "Oh, Audrey, Miss Audrey, Mama Audrey." I was like, "Oh," I was
That
like,
is what
I
I
mean,
call Mama Audrey. Yeah, Mama
Mama
Audrey.
Audrey, and it is so well deserved, because you have spoken to me on so many things about, where to go and things, and I'm still trying to get this dance piece done, Mama Audrey. So just know, you like, she's really inspired me to try to create this work based upon James Pate's artistry.
Rodney,
So that's a
you're a rare and wonderful young man. Um, so it's easy one to try to encourage you, because you've got so much already in you. If I could just be a touch to say, put it out there, I'm encouraging you, because you've got so much greatness in you, and more to come. So I want to encourage, do it, do it, do it, do it.
and the thing is, I thank you. I'm honored, I want to tell people this. But this is how you are with everyone that you come in contact with, who's being creative and who is showcasing and trying to make change in the community. You
Rodney,
always have these helpful words.
I am so fortunate to be guided in a sense. I can recognize greatness. And I think most people do recognize greatness. So I don't have a problem with saying to someone when I recognize that they have something special, hey, you've got something special. And I think it's something that should be shared regularly. If you think someone has something, share that something, or encourage people. I don't think that that's a bad thing. And I do that without hesitation if that person warrants it. But there's a zillion people who don't, but there's a whole bunch who do, and who are so deserving of encouragement and more, much more. Especially I ache for our children, and that's the truth there too. Because I would love to see our children have more time and to show what their greatness. Sometimes, since we don't go to church as much as anymore, we don't have we're not grooming the speakers. We're not grooming the singers. We're not grooming the people that come up and present their stuff. So, and it's not just the church that's missing out, but some other activities that's missing out. So our children don't have a place or a sense that of their greatness, or a place that they can show their greatness. And so that gives me an ache. I would love to say I'm building this to show and to expose our children, and to give them a space where they can show their stuff, because they have stuff in them that they want to share too. Most of the time, unfortunately, our children never even get the chance to show their greatness. Most of the time, they don't,
Mm,
and that's a heartache, because you if you're one that can see, and I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. You see,
I do.
you do, and growing up, they never get a chance to say or show what they have, but you can see it. You know it's there, but then they end up not experience that joy that you get from sharing your stuff with others, and that's a missing part that is a joy that's missing for people if they don't get a chance to share and show.
I so agree with that, and you know, it's when I was listening to you, it's like it's spoken like a true educator. You know, I believe that some people say yes, I'm a teacher,
Right,
but there are some people that are they're
right,
teachers, you know,
right.
and you are a teacher. You're because you believe in this, you have this philosophy, and we always share the same thing. It's like there's specialness in every student and child, and as an
Absolutely.
educator,
It may not be the exact same thing, but they're there. It's there.
yeah, and our job is to help provide a space for them to allow it to shine, to
Right,
allow it to grow and
right,
develop, because we can't predict the future. I mean, but we can control the present
right,
and make a safe place. And
right.
I mean, it was really interesting to me because I was, you know, because I'm digging into Bing's archives, which is basically digging into your life and Bing's. I mean, you were an educator for and what grades did you teach
I taught
when you were an educator?
I taught the most important grades. I taught when I say the most important grades, that's the beginning. I taught kindergarten and first grades and second grade because that's where kids really get a thirst for learning. When they realize they've got something or that they've learned something, you can see that spark and you can see that joy and you can direct and encourage. Kindergarten and first grade is where they learn to read and process what they've learned and appreciate. Also, those are the grades where they learn to express themselves in drawing, writing, movement. So I love those beginning grades because they're so real. They will tell you and show you whatever. I love those kindergarten and first grades are so major. You can get into them and they'll keep that thirst for knowledge forever if you're able to touch them when they're young and get them in there and get in their brains and get them in that thirst for knowing more, getting more, wanting more. So those are very important ages to get into the kids' spirit and minds and thought. So that's what I taught and that's what I love to do. So yes, that's my grade level. I like the babies.
You love the
I
babies.
love
I
the
do.
babies.
Uh, I love their honesty. I love the joy, the smiles. It's an honest smile. You know, do you know what I'm saying? It's that it's just it's pure. And so I appreciate it too. And I don't teach the younger kids as
Right.
much because
Some
I
people
teach a
can't.
lot of
Yeah.
older.
Right.
Um, just because for some odd reason people think that teaching advanced level ballet is where my world
It's
is.
a difference. Yeah, you have to.
Is a
They
difference.
want
So
to
it's a
understand your
different sort.
language. You have to do where you are, what you fit in, because it's hard to teach ballet to a 5-year-old, but you can teach movement. You teach different. So yeah,
Yeah, very much so. I can teach movement to 5-year-olds,
different. Yes, the
but
different.
teaching ballets, that
Right.
is going
Right.
into a different a realm.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I love it. And you know, it's really because it was really interesting because when I saw that you were an educator, and I said that explains a lot. But then it's like, but it explains how you see that connected to community. I mean, so in many ways, you're still teaching by who you interact with and who you engage with in the community, and anyone who knows you and Bing, I mean, your presence is always welcome and appreciated in spaces because it just allows for it changes the energy in the room. It changes the focus. It changes it from being just an event to an experience where you treasure the memories and the visuals. I mean, I could be speaking only for myself, but I doubt it. I really do think that there's a difference in that. Do you feel do you feel, by being connected to the community and doing things in community, do you think you've instill do you also instill that in when you were teaching, did you also instill that in young people as well, that community matters?
It,
I
it
mean, when do we start teaching community matters, I guess, is a
from
question
the
of my
beginning,
curiosity.
it's hard to get away from that. Who do you live next door to? Where do you live? Do you know your address, your phone number? Who's around you? What's important? Community starts early, very early, and who's watching out over you? That's part of your community. Who can you go to if you need some help? That's part of your community. All those kinds of things. It's part of what makes up the person. And do you feel safe? Are you unsafe? Or do you even have a sense of community? Or are you one of those people who feel like you are just not in it at all? And then those are dangerous. That's dangerous when you don't feel like you're a part and you're disconnected.
Hmm.
That's a very dangerous place to be for any person, not to feel a sense of belonging. So community's always been important, and it starts very young. But somehow we have forgotten how important our communities are. We relied on schools to do the answer, or we separated into a community center, or maybe we put it onto the church, and not realizing it's just the parents, the home, it's all of us, and it's not
It's
just
all of
one.
us,
It's all
yeah.
of us. We can't just separate and say we have to only rely on just the schools to do it, because they can't. They're going to fail, and they have in many ways, because we put too much pressure and too much emphasis on that portion of it. That's just my opinion.
Oh, I know. It's a perfectly valid. It's a lived experience because you've been an educator for so long, and a teacher, on so many levels. And so, I'm kind of curious how that's connected to creativity. I mean, I honestly, and I think you would agree. And I'm curious your thoughts about how that informs someone getting becoming creative, that sense of community and that sense of learning. I mean, how important is it this community to making art?
You're making the art part. And this is my opinion again, partially because I'm one of the people who is a creator. I'm not saying that a fine artist, because I know I'm not. I have not had any training into being a fine artist, but I create stuff. I make things and I enjoy that. So that's my pleasure. I enjoy it, and I have the opinion that we have creativity in all of us. It Everybody has it. Even the way you pick your clothes out. Yeah, it's in us. It's a natural, say, I like these certain colors. Those are things that are just natural to you. So we're all creative beings, one way or another. It could be a creative in the way you move. Sometimes, if the way you move can affect somebody else, you know you've got something special. So these are just so simple, but it's in everybody. It's just sometimes we've been conditioned and taught differently. That,
Right.
yeah, artists are the weird ones, or something like.
I love it. Well, it's really interesting because there's Jerry Saltz is a critic in New York Magazine, and he says we are the artists and creatives are the smelly shamans who live at the side on the edges of the village, and we should pay attention to what they are observing and seeing and bringing into the community. And I think that's so true. I mean, it's like it's all in us. I mean, I
It
see
is.
people being creative all the time, and I think you sell yourself short on the fine artistry because I am a firm believer you don't need training. It is
Be a
about
fine.
the fact
Yes.
that you do the work and you do the work and it's beautiful and exceptional. And you make beautiful, incredible sculptural jewelry pieces that speak to community and it speaks to culture. And that's I mean, and especially because it's the authenticity of the connective threads to being an African American come through in your work and how important is I know it's important to Bing, but I know it's also as important to you. And so it's like so that's why I go it's not about having degrees. I really am.
I see. Hmm.
You are an artist. You are an exceptional artist. I mean, you're making things that stand out as signature pieces that make people that speak to you as the art maker, and they speak to your cultural reference points. but they speak to such a wide audience of men and women who want to wear your work. So
Yeah,
I
many
mean,
many
you got it going on,
try
Audrey. You got it going on.
because I enjoy making the art, but I enjoy it because I like it making it, and if someone responds to it, that's that's a plus. So, but I enjoy making things with natural stones, natural things that are already made, and then I use the polymer clay to put because you can use get the colors and things with the polymer clay, and you can mix them up, and with the polymer clay I'm able to make things that are remind you of Africa, and that's because I am African and I recognize that and want to share the some of the things about Africa have been overshadowed, hidden. We have a limited, a very limited knowledge of Africa and its people. I should say peoples, because there's many cultures, and they're not all the same. So
No.
it's not an easy thing to say. I'd like to represent African culture because there's more than just one different. Yeah, but I would like to accent or elevate or have people recognize when they see certain things that, hey, that's an African piece, or that reminds me of, because of the feel of it, the look of it, the boldness, the colors, that something will put you back to thinking that's African, no matter what culture it may be. But sometimes it's color, sometimes it's a bold shape, but I do like to recognize Africa as a focal point for my work. I think I want more information on Africa and African cultures because we have been most of the time deliberately undereducated about Africa, and we don't, and that's not just me doesn't know, but the world doesn't know. So I would like to
No, no,
encourage the world to know more about African cultures because they don't know. We don't
no,
know.
they don't.
We don't.
No, we really don't. And as someone who is of African descent as well, it's
Hmm.
that recognizing now as I'm making that my history and the culture that I come from influences why I make the decisions I make,
Right.
and just embracing that, which is, I say that to anyone in their cultures, like, you need to embrace your personal history, but then step back and really embrace a global perspective of
Absolutely.
what influences you. And so
Absolutely.
I, and I love it because you and Bing just recently, I love the fact that because we're doing the documentary, that you and Bing just got back from South Africa,
Right.
which I mean that what was I mean the thing is, and that was another experience where, because it was at Makers Valley, and you were interacting and engaging with artists from all over the continent.
Right.
It wasn't just South African
Right.
artists; it was artists from all
All
over.
over. All
Talk
over.
talk to us about that. I mean, because I was dying to know, like, how was the trip?
For me, it was life changing. I'm saying life changing because it encouraged me to step up more. Because oh yeah, step up more because we need to work harder to share and to show, because there's so much, there's so many different cultures. In When we went to Makers Valley, just seeing the different people from different nations, I'll just say nations, or different cultures, body structures were different, facial features were different, and just seeing that and saying, no, could I be part of this group over here, or am I part of this group over here? And as an African American, not knowing which of these,
Mm,
yeah. So I had, so I'm seeing facial features and body structures and different types of looks, and say, where do I fit in, and what nation or what, and along with these go different customs different foods. All those things help to make up this world. And to eliminate one group of people is,
As to one clump
yes,
as opposed to
yes, yes.
the variety. Yeah.
Because and it's a very diverse with lots of different. So I enjoyed the trip and I learned a lot. I and had to have a lot more questions too. I have great. I learned positive stuff, but also learned some negative stuff. The negative stuff that hit me hardest was acknowledging that the indigenous people and the earth people from around the world. I'm talking about Africans, I'm talking about Native Americans, the indigenous people from our continent. And so those people, and also Aborigines, they're the indigenous people, those are the land people. In every place you go, they have been squashed to the point, yes,
Yeah.
and you know that. We know
Yeah.
it.
Right.
We know
We know
that
it. Right.
the
Right.
Native Americans have been, put into unbearable situations where their foods and customs, we know that's happened. Africa, we know that that's happened. We know that those cultures have been pushed down and squashed and manipulated. We know that the Aborigines, some people don't even know that there even were Aborigines or are Aborigines. They don't even know the history. Don't even know that they had also were imprisoned and taken their children away from them, just as they did the Native Americans. So in every major continent, all the peoples that were land peoples or taking care of the land for centuries, they were
Hmm.
came in and squashed them to the point that each of these people, major people that had been living there for thousands of years and done what they've done and taken care of the land, they come in and make the people into alcoholics and thieves because they are squashed and crushed and changed people. Hope you're understanding all that I'm saying.
Oh, I do. I
And
know, and I think
that's the world. So
that is the world.
all the major land people indigenous to wanting to take care of the land have been squashed and so now the other people who are not truly indigenous and loving the land, they have destroyed it, destroyed
Hmm.
the waters, destroyed the. We're in trouble. We're in trouble. But if we had been more conscious and worked with the indigenous populations of all these places, we would have been in a better place than we are right now. Rather than to squash those people and do away with their custom, we should have worked with them. But that's past tense now. We've got to try to make up and get things back on track because some people are in process of destroying our earth.
Yes, and I and I'm grateful that you're saying that because because there are a lot of people that have a tendency to believe that art, community, social activism can't be one and the same, and our
It's all together.
Glenna, it's all
It's
together.
all together.
I'm a firm believer. You can't separate them. I mean, I try. I mean, I've tried. God knows I've tried, and I realized, you can't. Please, simply cannot. You have to take that into consideration, and so I love the fact that that what I love is the fact that you went to South Africa and you were still learning.
Oh,
Like you're still
absolutely.
growing and you still want to do more.
Absolutely.
I think of myself like Audrey, how many more things can you add to your day?
Oh, I wish I had two or three or 10 lives because there's much that needs to be done, and there's much that could be done. We just need to find the right people who are willing to work and make some changes. Some people with money don't have the vision, or some people with the vision don't have the money. But we can find a way. Because some of these
Mhm.
problems could be alleviated with serious effort. And I'm sure they could.
Oh, I totally agree. I totally agree. So what we're going to do is going to take a little bit a quick break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk some more to Audrey about art, community, and being iconic.
See, I'm having
Stay tuned.
I don't even understand that part of it. Iconic.
I'll let you.
So,
I will explain it to you.
right.
I will explain it to you. I will explain it to you.
I'm Christine Ray, Senior Membership Coordinator of Public Media Connect. Thank you for listening to Rodney Veal's Inspired By. This podcast is a production of CET and Think TV, two local PBS stations. As PBS stations, the work we do online, on air, and in the community is supported by listeners like you. If you're enjoying the show and would like to support our work, please consider becoming a member of cetconnect.org or thinktv.org. Plus, when you sign up to donate at least $5 a month, you'll get access to special members-only streaming videos on the PBS app through Passport. Learn more at cetconnect.org or thinktv.org. Thanks for listening, and back to the show.
Okay, we are back, and Audrey, you had asked me the question of iconic, and so my definition, and this is not the Webster Dictionary definition of iconic, is something that when you experience a person or a thing, but you're not a thing because you're a person, you're real, you're a human being, that you instantly know there are things about them that are definitive statements. Honest, artistic, cool, driven, inspiring, beautiful. I mean, the list goes on. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's, and so when you see someone when you say someone's iconic, you just go, you know what? They are all I call it the creamy goodness of humanity rolled into a
That would be
being. And
wonderful.
that's iconic. That is iconic in my definition. So that is what you are. You are iconic. So
I love what you're saying. I would love to say I'll take that all in. That's
no, and it's true, and that's what I love. That's what I love about you, and the work that you do, and who you are. It's not even just the work; it's who you are, which is that's what makes iconic. And so, that's why when I said we talked to you earlier, that people were like, "Oh, you're talking to Mama Audrey," and their faces lit up, and I just said, you know what? That's what iconic people do. When you say their name, people smile, they get excited, and so that's that's what we are. So and I have a question for you, and I'm gonna get the name of the group wrong, because I did a little digging, because that's what
all
we do
right.
here on the podcast. There's it's a group of women that you have brought together, and 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 okay, the name of the group is Women Strong,
Yeah,
or did I get the title wrong?
that's correct. That is correct. Women strong. I realized quite early what influences women can have on each other. Women are a major force in this world, period. So, in my life's journey, I have always been involved with women's groups from, you know, early on, middle school on for sure. I've been involved with groups of women who are doing things. So, but this particular women's group is a group of artists. What pulls us together is we're all females, we all are involved in art. Some of us more serious than others, but all of them have quality art. There's one of the artists who doesn't care if she sells anything or not. That's me. I don't care. I really
You
don't.
don't. You don't. Okay.
But anyway,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
artists are serious artists. The work that these women produce is quality. They're serious about their craft. But not only are they serious about their craft, they're serious about uplifting the female, not overall female, because we are more than half the Earth's population. So we might as
Mhm.
well be up there with on that level. But these
Yes.
women, this particular women strong, this women is they're called generally women strong. But what makes us unique is that they're from different cultures. We have African American culture, we have European cultures, plural, and I'm saying African American, that's one, although there's no certain one type of African American. But
Right.
the European American that represents more than one culture in Europe. Some of them are German Americans, but we also have Native American represented. When I say Native American, I mean in she's part of an indigenous population, spent time on reservation, Native American. We also
Okay.
have Persian American, Chinese American, we have Jewish American. We all work together, showing our art to one another. We critique one another. We go to one another's homes. So this is not just a regular art group. We go to each other's home. We sample your food. Is Chinese food, do you eat this on a regular? Do you decorate your home the same as this African American does? What particular statues do you emphasize in your home? What do Native Americans try to make sure that they have in their home? Is it different than something that a Jewish person may want to make sure that they have in their? We just talk about our customs, our cultures, plus we're friends. We've been together
Mm-hmm.
since 2019, and we became friends very easily and quickly because that womanness pulled us together, and the art pulled us together. And our goal, because we're from different cultures, we want to let other people know that you can do the same thing. Have a book club, but branch out past your European people. Get some more people in there other than your African American book club. Branch out. Get some Spanish people in there. Talk about other stuff. Get to know. Bottom line is what we're trying to do is get to know your neighbors in Dayton because we're all from Dayton area. And the same thing that we're doing, we're working together, loving together, having fun together, eating, sharing. The same thing should be done easily, but unfortunately, it takes some effort because for some reason, a study was done that the majority of people in America have never had lunch, dinner, or a meal with someone in their home that was of a different race. 75% of Americans, three-fourths,
Wow.
have never. But let's bring it down even more. Some people who are speaking out have never even touched another person of another race. We need to stop that kind of distance from one another, especially when you're neighbors. Sometimes there's somebody down the street that's of a
Right.
different culture and you don't even know them, you don't even speak to them, you've never even, when you don't make eye contact. So Women Strong is trying to encourage Dayton to reach out and get to know your neighbors. We're part of your neighbors, and we do it, and we do it with great joy, and we want to share this with other people by showing our art. Our art is all different, but we also show our culture through our art too. So that's what Women Strong is all about. Still spreading a message of community. Dayton has too many wonderful, wonderful people to be as disconnected as it is. It
Mm.
and Dayton is a wonderful place, but it could even be a better place.
There you go. I love it, and that is what makes you iconic, Audrey. Is in the sense of these group of women. I love the fact that you're championing and supporting women, and you're absolutely right. And as a man, we should be allies to recognize the power. Someone asked me a question. It was yesterday, and I was at an event in Cincinnati, and they said they were talking about diversifying their organization and the board. I said it's not about, oh, I must have this black person. I know I must have you because of what you bring to the
There you
table.
go.
Recognize their talent,
Right.
recognize their intelligence, recognize that they are special, and then get them to the table. the
Right.
this the outer coating is just an outer
Exactly.
coating. It's all the stuff that's internal. And I love the fact that you talk about that, because it's like, it's true. It's like, if you're if you 75% have never broken bread or even
Right.
touched another person
Right.
of color, how are you going to experience that art that's being made by someone who is not, that is what you, I'm going to put it in the words that we use, other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important.
Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely important. That's how we
Mm-hmm.
break down the barriers
Right.
to that understanding. And that was
Right.
my response. I said, look, choose me because I'm bringing something to the table
Exactly.
that you need. And you need somebody to, you, Rodney, bring your magic sauce, your special sauce,
There
and
you
make it
go.
happen. And that's what we should be doing for all people. And it's like,
Exactly.
and especially women. I'm like, I grew up in a very African American community, the matriarchal homes. Though, I mean, still had a mom and dad, but mom ran the show. I mean, it was, and she did, and I applaud her. And to this day, as a matter of fact, I need to call her on my after
Oh yeah.
this podcast. Must call mom.
Because
That's
women
my
really do. We carry the culture, whether the male may not want to recognize it, but the women are really do care. They're the ones who, oh, we got to get the Easter outfit. They're the ones who do the, yes, carry on the Thanksgiving, whatever the cultures, the women are the one who's carrying that on. So we need to open up our eyes and know what power we have and try to work with our power and to influence better with our, so that's part of what Women Strong tries to encourage. More
oh,
togetherness.
I love it. I love it. And so when we talk about this togetherness, and because like I said, you've 47, 48 years in Dayton. So you've seen and experienced a lot of things, and you talked about Dayton being better. If you had, like, no, there was no barrier to it happening, what would be the one thing you would love to see happen in Dayton, Ohio? I mean, I'm kind of curious.
I would love to see their education system sparked highly into the arts. Example, I would, yes, the education, I would love to have Dayton Art Institute on a monthly basis have exhibits in every public schools, minis. They don't have to be big deal anything, but
You would change the arts education.
I would
You would
change the
actually
arts.
make
I
it.
would make it a major portion of the education system because it's so much in every kid. I mean, every kid, it's in them big time. So I would emphasize the arts from top to bottom, even
Oh,
making sure that children were exposed earlier. Some children have zero exposure through their education, so they can go to K through 12 and never see a production.
mm-hmm.
Never see a production. That's So do they know what they would like to do? Maybe, or what hits them if they've never seen anything. I remember growing up, going because the school provided transportation and the school made us go to symphonies. So we had music memory contest. The whole city was involved. It wasn't just a school thing where you memorized portions of classical music. So you knew basic music. It just became part of it. We went to major institutions came to us as
Mm-hmm.
schools, and if we couldn't get to them, they came to us. But they also made sure that they had blocks of tickets set aside for children who didn't have the money for, and transportation was made available for those students who wanted to be there who didn't have the finances. And that was just, it wasn't just one school, it was just across the board what everybody did. You had access to. And you had my growing up situation was totally different than most people because I went to an all black school at a time when the teachers could not get positions, like, I don't know how to say this. My education my teachers had doctorates. So when I went, yes, because my science teacher, although he had a doctorate in, I'll just say biology, he couldn't get a job at a university because he was a black man. And at that time, it wasn't common to have black men do it. So we had a large group of educators at my high school and junior high that had their doctorates. So during my span of time, it wasn't uncommon to have all my teachers with a PhD. And
Wow,
yeah,
that's highly unusual. I don't think people
now,
really understand.
but at that time, it was common that African American teachers with their terminal degree could not get a position in a university. So it was common that they took a job at a high school.
Hmm.
And that happened to be where Crispus Attucks is where I went to school. Crispus Attucks was. But Crispus Attucks was also part of Indiana, right in the middle there. Crispus Attucks also was a school that Oscar Robinson went to. Oscar Robinson was a basketball player back in the day, and he was a
Yes.
very good basketball player. But anyway, at my school, they won the state championship for the high school. And usually the state championship, they get a parade and all these things. But this was a black school, so they didn't get their parade. They didn't get their announcements or any of the things like that. So I grew up in a time where blacks were not treated the same. They did not receive the awards, receive the accolades. So even if you were the best of the best, you got no recognition. And that's what
Oh,
happened to
yeah.
addicts and the people that are going to school at that time and the teachers and the musicians, because there's a lot of positive things going on, but no recognition for the positive things.
I'm looking at that, listening to this, and I'm realizing that that's that part of why we need to have your voice and other voices at the table and in the spaces, because it's you could tell those stories and they resonate, and it points to things. It's not necessarily, it's to allow for people to understand contextually
Oh, yeah.
that
And
the pathways to get to
absolutely,
the room are different.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And sometimes you can say, how did this happen? And many times I do ask myself, how did this happen? Why am I in this particular place? And it always comes back to tell the truth, to show a difference, to say whatever is, because I am, I don't have any higher intellect than this lady. I'm not the greatest artist. I'm not above anybody, but I am able to show, share, and maybe that's why I'm in this space, because I am a truth teller, and I'm thinking that's what I'm supposed to do is always tell the truth. It may not be like you would like to hear it, but it's my truth. It's my truth, and that's what I'm supposed to do. This is what Granny told me. My grandmother, who I truly adored, she told me, Audrey, you have a right to tell your truth. It's more than a right. You have a responsibility. And I took that to heart. From age 6 on, I knew I'm supposed to always tell the truth. And otherwise, if I don't show myself to be honest and real, you're not going to know the real me. So that's my responsibility, is to always be honest and real. Otherwise, you're not going to know me because I'd be faking it or something to do, playing a part or whatever. But the real me you're going to see is because that's my right and that's my responsibility, is to show you me and to be the best me that I can be. So you won't, I hope, ever catch me in a lie because it won't be there. You won't ever catch
Never.
me. I'm going to
Yeah,
always,
never. No.
I'm not going to ever do anything to hurt you, to harm you. So I always try to be the best me I can be. So that part is an easy thing because it's so ingrained in just be yourself. And if you're telling your truth and being yourself, and this is the best you know how to be, can't ask for more.
You
unless you want to
cannot.
fake it. And some people live their entire life faking it.
Yes, they
Yes,
do.
they do. Yes, they do.
Mama Audrey, that is such a true statement. And it's not, and it's not necessary.
It's
Like
not. It's not.
there's not necessary. I mean, I thought to myself, when you're saying this, and I thought, okay, that was the ultimate mic drop. And so therefore it's like, boom, that's right. Be yourself. Tell the truth.
Right.
That's it.
That's it.
Done. Yeah.
And sometimes it's very hard to look at yourself and accept yourself. But that's the first step. The first step. And realizing you have a right to who and however you are. Even if you're the, whatever it is. That's
Right.
beautiful.
Whatever it is. Doesn't
Whatever
matter.
it is. Whatever it is. And
But you
it's
have
even
got
better.
to be true.
It's even better when you like yourself, though. Yeah.
Amen. It is so,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
very true.
Yeah.
Love it. I love it. Well, Mama Audrey, there we go. I mean, what can I say?
Great.
But thank you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and continuing to share your wisdom and your iconic stature within our world. And I look forward to our next conversation in person, because that's coming soon, because it's always such a joy. And so thank you.
You're always so kind. That's what makes you so special too, is because you're one of a kind. And continue to be that way. It's okay. But you could be a braggart and say, yes, that's me. I'm wonderful one.
No, I don't think my mom would allow it. But you're my mom, and my other mom would not allow it. Trust me. Someone would call me out. I have enough aunties and uncles and moms, and yeah, it'll never happen. It'll never happen. Just not in the DNA. Just do the work. They were like,
You
just
are
do the work.
such a busy man, but you're doing such great things, and continue to do what you're doing with your great smile and attitude. Let nothing stop you, because you're doing good things. So continue.
Rodney Veal's Inspired By is a production of Public Media Connect, the regional partnership of CET in Cincinnati and Think TV in Dayton. There's a lot of great art happening around Southwest Ohio, and we're excited to be part of it. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can learn more and find the show notes at thinktv.org/inspired by or cetconnect.org/inspired by. Thank you.